Hey guys, Ninja here. Just want to help you guys get better at PvP. I've noticed a lot of new players seem to be coming to this game. Like me, I joined pretty recently, I want to say about 3 weeks ago. And I've noticed that a lot of the players have they decided just to go into PvP and they didn't decide to go into PvE at all. And I wanted to give you a guide, tips, not really numbered tips. This is just a thing you should do in general on my style of play, on how I play, and you don't really have to play in my style, but these tips will help you get better at PvP altogether. So the first thing I want to talk about is the radar. I noticed a lot of people don't pay attention to it. What I mean by that, you'll probably notice a lot of people in this gameplay and just in general play where people are just not looking around corners and you just get a free shot on them because they didn't even know you were there. So the first thing you want to do at all times is always look up at your radar. I'm not saying fully keep your eyes dead on it, but always have it like in your peripheral. Make sure you're paying attention to what's going on. You'll notice that a lot of my kills, a lot of things that I'm looking at, I happen to be looking at the radar. How do you know? How do I know where they are? Because I see the blips on my radar at all times, looking to the right, maybe to the left, and I know where they're coming from at all times. I don't always get the kill, sure, but that has more to do with my aim, if anything. But I do at least know where they're coming from, and I can prepare ahead of time to deal with them. So the way the radar works is that it depends if you're running or not. So if you're sprinting, if you're jogging, you'll show up on the radar. But if you're crawling, and whatever, not crawling, but crouch walking, if you're crouch walking or standing still, or even crouching still, you won't be seen or heard. So, and also it's triggered by gunfire. So if you want to keep the radar from seeing you, you need to be crouch walking. Don't crouch walk everywhere. Obviously you're gonna be near your teammates sometimes, so regardless if you crouch walk or not, like it's still gonna be, you're still gonna be on the blip. But the key thing to do, pay attention to the radar. Don't always try to sprint around. This game rewards sneaking around, alright? This game really rewards that. So if you really want to improve at this game, just based off the radar alone, the number one thing you shouldn't do all the time is run around or shoot all the time. Next thing I want to talk about. So number one thing you want to do is figure out what class you want to play. Now me personally, I'm the type of guy that I don't like being seen. And what I mean by that, I like the rogue style. So what I mean by that is I like being an assassin, a ninja, I like phantom, I like shadow, and I like assassin. They all fit the same idea of not being heard, not being seen, taking people out before they even know you're there. And that style for me, at least in any game, is what I do. But you need to figure out what your own style is. Now, I do play some Warfighter. What do I mean by that? Warfighter to me is a frontline commando. You're not going to be the guy hiding behind someone else. You're going to be the guy that's out there pushing forward for your team, and your team just supports you. It doesn't happen all the time, sure, but this game has the kind of kill time that you can take out more than one guy by yourself. So you don't have to worry too much about that. But the number one thing after understanding the radar is picking a gun or a class that you enjoy. And you can actually work on the radar skill while figuring out what class you like. So the second thing I want you guys to do is figure out what class and what weapons you like using. So you're probably wondering, oh, well, while you're trying to figure out what your class is, well, what's the best class to get? Because this game is pretty old. Obviously, everyone's fell into a meta. No, they have not. Now, some people have fallen into what they consider a meta, but the way this game is designed is that kill times are roughly the same. I mean, some are faster than others, but your skill can outgun anyone. So, for me, I would say that some people would say that Shadow is the strongest one. The only reason is because of the rocket launcher that you get. My thing about Shadow is that I don't use the rocket launcher a lot. Now, I'll use it when I know I can get a kill or two, or I can save someone's life, sure. But on average, I'm usually using my primary. And because of that, I rarely use my rocket launcher as I need to. And I honestly could be doing it much better as a player if I use it as much as I did. But I don't. And that has more to do with me than anything else. So the best class in this game is really up to you, because at the end of the day, no matter what class you're using, a heavy weapon is not gonna carry you through the games. That's not gonna happen. But the gun, primary, the secondary in general, will. And that all depends on you. So, best class, there's no best class. But also remember, don't hold out on your coins. Use your coins to upgrade your class. You can't prestige, so you don't need to worry about losing any perks or whatever. But make sure you upgrade your classes. There is no reason whatsoever you should be holding on the coins and not buying anything to improve your state of play, your loadouts against other players in PvP. There's no reason for that. So while we're on the subject of heavy weapons, I want to explain how you get your heavy weapon and why is there a white bar on there, why does it go away after a certain amount of time, and how do I get it faster. So, number one thing about the heavy weapon, it disappears over time. Well, what I mean by that, it'll disappear and when you haven't used it in a while, it'll disappear when you have used it. Maybe you shot a bullet and then put it away, it'll disappear instantly. It's gone. You're gonna have to recharge that all the way back up, and it'll disappear if you let it sit in your hands but you haven't like killed anybody with it or wasted ammo in it. It'll just disappear over time. So what does that mean? Well, they didn't want to make it broken so that you could just stack up heavy weapons or anything. So they made it, first off, you have a limited supply of ammo and you can't get another heavy weapon until you've used this one. Well, you also may lose your ability to get a heavy weapon because this game is like, alright, we don't want any weird sneaky plays. I don't really know why it disappears over time and if you haven't ever used it or whatever, but it does. So number one thing you want to remember is when I have my weapon, heavy weapon, look on the radar, try to figure out where people are and try to take out at least 1 to 3 people with your heavy weapon. Next thing, the heavy weapon comes up pretty fast if you have a perk that's in every skill tree that gives you your heavy weapon back faster off of hero kills, not hero kills but player kills and zombie kills. So you want to make sure you get that if you want to use your heavy weapon a lot. Next thing, if you have your heavy weapon and you get killed with it in your hand, it will half your energy for your heavy weapons bar in half. So that you don't fully lose the right to use your RPG or your machine gun or whatever, but you will still have to gain it back because you died with it in your hands. The next thing I want to cover is learn what it means when it says zombies incoming. It might say the courtyard, might say the streets, might say the museum, and I'm just going off of this map you're looking at right now, right? But there are other maps too. But learn what it means when it says zombies incoming in such and such place. You don't know how many times I've seen people get caught by zombies where they're fighting in the middle of the hangar on the base map in Tokyo. I've seen them fight in the hangar, and out of nowhere, the zombies in the horde in the hangar just come in and or horde around them and eat them alive. And you might be saying, well, they should have saw the zombies coming. It literally tells you ahead of time that the zombies are coming, and yet I will still see people in the hangar get eaten alive by zombies. So always remember, try to figure out whenever you're playing in any map where are the 3 points that the zombies come from. Alright, so you just seen the words critical noise level. This lets you know that zombies are coming soon, so always pay attention to that. It always tells you that before it tells you the location of the zombies. And one of the things that you can take this with a grain of salt, but one of the things that it lets me know where the zombies should be coming from is where is most of the gunfights going at. So they only really come from 3 places, but they usually spawn in the area where most of the gunfights are happening at. So let's say someone's camping, right? And they're camping inside that building. They'll spawn in that building. That is, and it's a theory because it doesn't always happen. And say someone's camping in an area and they get like 30 kills, right? But sometimes the zombies don't spawn in there. they will go through the train tracks, and even if they go through the train tracks, they're not going to go into the building. Some might, but not enough to get that camper out of there. And so it's a little iffy, and that's why I called it a theory. But a lot of times I will see where a lot of the gunfights might be coming from a building or maybe a specific area. So like on the other map called Old Museum, I've seen a lot of gunfights where everyone's out by the street or everyone's by the museum, and they'll spawn only in those areas because people are shooting only in those areas. And so, like I said, take it with a grain of salt, but in my experience, the best way to know where where the zombies are going to spawn from first is usually where most of the gunfights are happening at. Next thing I want to talk about is and really this is the last thing I want to talk about. So you want to stick around your team as a new player so that you can get an understanding of how to play PvP in this game. Necessarily, you don't have to stick around your teammates. If you've probably seen my gameplay, I run off my teammates a lot, and I'll do really well, but sometimes I may come back to them. That all depends on a case-by-case basis of how my gunfights are going. Am I doing well? Are they running in twos? I can handle a group of 2, 3, and 4. I've done it before, but it doesn't mean I'll always win. And sometimes I may have to make decisive decisions in order to win those 1v4s. So first thing as a really new player that I would do is run as a group. At least have a buddy that you can stick around. If you don't do anything else, have a buddy in the beginning. And then as you understand the game more, run around on your own. Try to flank around a little bit. You know, a lot of people aren't expecting you to come from behind them, and you would think like over time, yeah, they should, but a lot of people don't. And a lot of people don't check the radar, and you know what I've told you about that. You know how I've gone behind people. You've seen it. So first thing I want you guys to do, stick around people. Just try to figure out how they play, follow them around, and try to work off their style. And then as you get better, run off on your own. Well, that's it for me. If you want to get more tips from me, leave some comments, and I'll try to get to you as soon as possible. If you want to catch me live, check me out on my Twitch channel at 7ninja7, and I'll make sure I'll post a link for that just so you guys can check that out. I stream about mostly from 6 to like 12. I'm not gonna say 12. It really depends on how I'm feeling. Well, so I mostly stream from like 6 to like 8, and sometimes shorter. It really just depends on the day and how I'm feeling. But I'll always be streaming every single day around 6 p.m. Sometimes 6:30 a.m. like a.m. EST and 6 p.m. EST. But I'll always be streaming around that time. So anyway, I'll see you guys later. But thanks for showing up. I really appreciate you guys. Thanks.